3 weeks, and I had never seen a large city like Chicago take on a team like they've taken on the Bears. You talk about excitement, that place knows how to celebrate. Chicago, Illinois, the second largest city in the United States. Whoever called this place a windy city knew what they were talking about. Over 3 million people live here along the shores of Lake Michigan. And as of 2 weeks ago, each one will tell you that he or she is a lifelong Bears fan.
Well, it's about time. It feels great. It feels great to have a winner. We deserve one. Everybody else is winning. It's about time we won something.
You have to work with people that are Packer fans, Lion fans, Viking fans, and they're always shoving it down your throat. And now it's time we shoved it down their throat through the whole year, and it's our time to sit back and reap the benefits from it.
I'm from Chicago, and it's great. I think it's wonderful for the morale of our city.
This is a great sports town with 5 major franchises, but no champions for over 23 years. Fans here are loyal, yes, but I wouldn't call them tolerant.
You know, when we come out of the off the field now at Soldier Field, it used to be called the Tunnel of Love, and it wasn't meant in anything but a derogatory way, because they used to pour beer on us or, you know, scream and yell at us, and then they put a little canopy over and they burned a hole through that so they could put the beer and everything. And now we come off, everybody's got their helmet off and, you know, waving to the crowd. Well, I'll tell you what, it used to be a day where you kept that helmet on until you got in the locker room.
I'd be the last one to call Chicago fans fair weather. They're like the Postal Service. Neither rain, nor snow, nor gloom at night could keep them down. They were celebrating in the streets and singing in the bars after the Bears beat the Rams 2 weeks ago. Chicago's party was long overdue.
They love football, they love baseball, they love their basketball and hockey and everything else, but just to be the team has brought it to them, because they sit out here a lot of days when we weren't so exciting to watch.
Podcast. Welcome into the Club Dub podcast presented by SportsMockery.com. Kevin and Drew with you here. Eric will join us in a little bit. We were supposed to talk a lot of Bears tonight. Many of you probably heard the news. It's been a difficult couple of hours for Bears fans and NFL fans alike. We lost 2 amazing men in this career. Jeff Dickerson. We'll start off in talking about him. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. Jeff Dickerson, ESPN 1000, ESPN.com, NFL reporter for the Bears for 2 decades. Has passed away at the age of 44 tonight. A lot of our colleagues in the media field grieving tonight. Neither Drew or I knew him very well, but we wanted to offer our condolences tonight before we began talking about anything. I know I learned a lot from Jeff's reporting. He made my job a lot easier, especially when we began this podcast, really thinking about him and his family tonight.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about everything that he has had to go through the last, decade or so. I read extensively about the battle that his late wife, Caitlin, went, through with her own battle with cancer and the, going into, what do they call, remission, and then it coming back, losing her, 2 years ago. I think their son was 9 years old at the time, Parker. And, all of a sudden, JD himself diagnosed, I think, earlier this year, and having to go through what he went through and, passing away today. And just heartbreaking. I mean, absolutely awful news for, his family. Obviously, my thoughts, I can't even imagine what Parker's going through. His son, 11 years old, having lost both his parents within a span of 2 years to something like cancer, just brutal. And this time of year too, when it's all about family, at this time of year especially. So just awful news. Obviously thoughts are with him and his family and everyone that was affected by this loss. Several in the media. It's been pretty uplifting to see all the tributes that are coming out from folks in the media and the Bears beat and everything. So that part is uplifting to see, but just an awful day.
Here's the statement from the Chicago Bears. Very classy statement put out by the organization about an hour ago. We are absolutely heartbroken to learn of the passing of our friend and colleague Jeff Dickerson, always the consummate professional. JD took a great deal of pride in his coverage of the Bears for 20 years. He was a true professional and an even better person. JD was always one of the first media members to arrive in the press box on game day with a hello and a smile that could brighten anyone's day. He was one of a kind and will truly be missed. On behalf of the entire Bears organization, we extend our heartfelt sympathies to Jeff's 11-year-old son, Parker, and all of his family and friends who mourn the loss. And I think something super special, I'll leave this up here for those if I spoke a little fast. I think he was, from everything that I've read, from David Haw to David Kaplan to Mark Carman to Matt Spiegel to guys who have been in and around the media industry in the Chicago scene for decades, who Matt Spiegel even said he was his intern. This was a guy who lit up the room, and we really don't see this with a lot of media members these days. I've been in a lot of press boxes, and I've just started in this career, but I've been in a lot of press boxes, and I've met a lot of people who aren't always there to lend a helping hand. I'm lucky enough to know a handful that sounded like they were just like Jeff and able to help out new people right away. And I've heard stories about him always reaching out to guys like JJ Stankovitz. Put out a story earlier today saying, when I was let go from my beat last season, he was one of the first people to reach out with a handful of people. Hey, here's who you have to call next. We'll get you back on your feet. We'll find you a job. He sounds like an amazing human being. I never had the chance to know him, but I do know that there is a GoFundMe set up. I'm going to share the screen right now so you guys can see this. If you do choose to donate to Jeff's family, it just got launched about 20 minutes ago. The Jeff Dickerson family. I don't know if this is the official GoFundMe. I do know that this was one set up by a fan of ESPN 1000, and he said that he will that this will go towards funeral and whatever the family needs. But if you're looking for some way to contribute tonight, certainly there's a way you can do it. GoFundMe.com for the Jeff Dickerson family. Obviously, his son Parker, as we reiterate, 11 years old, losing both of his parents now, 2 years separated from one another. Just a horrible situation. And if you saw while we start the show with a little John Madden, because moments after we heard the Jeff Dickerson news, we lost a pioneer in the NFL, a man who's on the Mount Rushmore of figurines in this league.
Oh, yeah. Synonymous with the NFL. I mean, just you hear football, you hear NFL, you think Madden. I mean, just immediately, especially the generation of fans that grew up on Madden, like I'm one of them. You think John Madden. I mean, he's absolutely on the Mount Rushmore of NFL pioneers. George Halas is on there. Just awful news. And again, he was 85 years young, but seemingly an unexpected, passing away today and this morning, and just awful news. It's just one of those things where it's hard to kind of wrap your mind around it. So it's just terrible.
If you're just joining us, Club Dub podcast here, presented by SportsMockery.com. We had a lot of Bears to talk tonight, but of course this takes precedence. Our colleague Jeff Dickerson passing away, and now NFL icon John Madden. John Madden is one of those announcers. I'm a little bit younger, and I still listen to him on the Monday night broadcast when he switched over to ESPN. Al Michaels, it's no stranger to anybody who's been listening to the show for the 6 months that we've been doing it. Al Michaels is my favorite NFL broadcaster. I live for his broadcasts, and those two are together, and that's kind of what got me into the broadcasting field, one of several that I looked up to. And John Madden on a national scale was a guy who was the all-encompassing, cultivated NFL everything. This was a guy that could bring the game of football into anyone's living room and describe it. That's what makes him a living legend, and he was able to kind of push that into other forms of the league. He became a high-profile broadcaster that worked for all four major networks, the only one to ever do that. And then in his many hilarious commercials, specifically the Miller Lite ones that many are used to seeing, we'll play a few for you. To me, this speaks Harry Carey on a local level. It speaks Ron Santo on a local level. Guys who were the ultimate fans and can really just connect with anybody, no matter how diehard of a fan you are to how casual of a fan you are. This was a guy that was just an all-encompassing, larger-than-life figurine, and without him, the NFL is nothing of what it is today.
100%. And You brought up Al Michaels and John Madden's partnership. I even go back to I'm not that much older than you, but I go back to Pat Summerall and John Madden's partnership, and just legendary voices. I still think back when Madden's his way of describing the game, right? I mean, to your point, one of the biggest fans of the game, could describe it, could connect with all sorts of fans. He would describe the game in such a simple way, and I remember, I think my earliest memory at this point was watching or listening to him and Pat Summerall call the Super Bowl, where the Patriots defeated the Rams, the upset of the Tom Brady's first Super Bowl. And I remember on the final drive when the Patriots took over on their 17-yard line, I think like 2 minutes left or a minute left, and he basically said, I'd play for overtime. You're backed up, you don't have any timeouts, all that kind of stuff. It made sense. And then, a few plays later, they're on the other side of the field, and he's like, now I suddenly like what the Patriots are doing. It's just like, it just does these remarks where you're just like, well, of course. But at the same time, it's just nice to hear, someone who knows the game so well, such an expert, such a, huge, high profile person in the sport, see the game the way you're seeing it. It was just I think I was what, fourth grade when that happened. And I still remember that. It's just kind of burned in my memory where I'm like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense.
The master of the telestrator is something I'll always remember.
Yeah.
Here's a great clip, and this is kind of what you were referring to. This is just the type of broadcaster, the comedy and just the realness that he could bring to an NFL broadcast, and not be, just a fake figurehead talking. Here's a great clip from John Madden.
See how heat does come out of the top of your head? Look at it, just coming off at Nate's head there. That's where it escapes. If you have heat in your body and you want to let it out, you take your hat off.
Yeah.
What you could do is you could have a barbecue on that head.
Nate's got a lot of room to let it out.
Yeah. I mean, you could cook like some burgers on there. Look at, now you're talking. I mean, this is football. When you got steam coming out of your head and your mouth, now you're talking football. And you're controlling that offensive line. This is what it's all about. It's a playoff game. If you win, you go to the championship. Whoa, what are you talking
about? It's just amazing.
So a guy that can get away with saying stuff like that, and you saw all the reactions on Twitter. We're seeing them all over social media of current and past players. One time for John Madden, rest in peace to an NFL legend, John Madden. This was a guy that was just, he had the personality of Chris Farley, while also being able to be the ultimate football guy. We all football is the most popular sport in America. Whether I know that many people will, say, oh no, it's basketball. Oh no, it's baseball. No, it's football. If you look at the strict numbers, and John Madden is a huge reason for that. He was a guy that you could throw in the booth that could just globalize the game. If it wasn't if you didn't play Madden, you didn't have a childhood. Everybody played the Madden football game. Everybody played that game. And if you didn't, you were listening to him on CBS on a Sunday, Monday Night Football with Al Michaels in the booth on ESPN. Just great. And even if you weren't an NFL fan, even if you were just tuning in for some of the Super Bowl commercials, there's a lot of people that do that. Nothing wrong with that. You saw him in situations like this.
Excuse me. I'm not the same crazy coach who used to storm around the sidelines yelling at the officials. I've learned to relax, and I drink light beer from Miller. Do you know that light's got a third less calories than a regular beer? And listen to this. Light doesn't fill me up. Besides that, light tastes fantastic. Oh, sure, there are a lot of other beers around, and you can drink any one you want. But let me tell you this.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
As I was saying, I don't care what anybody else...
I mean, that it just reminds me of like a Bob Uecker type of personality, a guy that
yes.
I know a lot of people love Bob Uecker, and I know our friends to the north, Packer fans, obviously love him because he's the Brewers play-by-play guy. But just a guy with a personality like that, it's so rare to find a guy who can touch all walks of life just by being himself, and that was John Madden. And it truly, a lot of us have him to thank for being NFL fans and bringing so much joy into our lives.
Big time. I mean, like I said, just he can connect with all types of fans. You relate to him, because the way he would call a game was just he's a fan, and the way he speaks, the way he gets angry at the game, kind of like, as Cubs fans, Ron Santo, we all relate to a Ron Santo. Similarly, no matter what team you're a fan of, Bears, Packers, whoever, you relate to John Madden, and he and like Pat Summerall, Al Michaels, whoever, even if your team didn't deserve to be in prime time, they would make that watching experience enjoyable. And it's a rare talent. I mean, there really hasn't been and never will be anyone like John Madden ever again. Of course, he has what he has done for football, just by being himself, by being an incredible color commentator, by obviously the whole Madden franchise from an NFL, video game perspective, teaching fans just through the game and all the different features that they have within it. Just, I mean, it's a brand. It really is. And, it's sad. I mean, I don't fully know how much influence Madden had in the, last few years, especially with, cause it's kind of taken on a life of its own since, for the last several years, and it's continued to, exist on its own. But, with him gone now, it's just one of those things where it's like, wow, it's just, it still hasn't hit.
You want to hang on to those games and hang on to those memories. And like I said, my childhood was playing Madden football with my friends. Madden NFL franchises. So we it's become a part of our everyday vocabulary when you really think about it. It's like, hey, do you guys want to play Madden today?
Oh yeah.
And, it's just when you've hit that pinnacle and when you've hit that threshold of stardom, you've made it, and you've really just. And this was a guy who was as humble as could be, and it was something to behold. And if you're just joining us now, we're remembering John Madden. I want everybody who's watching the show right now, go ahead and throw in your favorites John Madden memories. I know we got a lot of people tuned in right now, so go ahead and throw in your favorite John Madden memories. We all have them. I personally, I just loved some of his commentary on some Bears games, but I was looking over some of his coaching career statistics, and for those who don't remember, he was inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame as a coach the weekend the Bears were in the Super Bowl down in Miami. It was the 2006 Super Bowl. And I remember watching that speech, and I remember going over his accolades. This guy had a 76% winning percentage in the NFL. He never had a losing season.
Unreal.
It was 5 AFC title games, I believe, or I can't remember if it was 5 or 7. I mean, one of the most dominant eras of NFL football that we've ever seen. And
Super Bowl
it took him
well.
almost 30 years to make the Hall of Fame, and he finally did. It's incredible. Now a Super Bowl champion coach, obviously, in there. He did end up squeaking one out, but just that winning 76 games in a sport where is a grueling effort. Time that is an accolade that I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I guarantee you it's a very, very small percentage of coaches in professional sports that could say with that sample size has won 76% of their games.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. It shows the knowledge, shows the ability to motivate. I mean, everything that we saw as a commentator, imagining him as a football coach doing all of those things, and you can see why his players would play hard for him. He knows the game. He would strategize accordingly. It makes perfect sense. And I still remember the first Madden game I had was on the PC. I think it was Madden NFL 2000, and the Bears team that I was playing with, Curtis Enos and Curtis Conway, and just terrible. But I mean, it was a lot of fun to hear. And he and Pat Summerall were the broadcasters as part of the game, and it was fun. I mean, you're extending basically the NFL season when you're not watching. You're extending their commentary or extending the game when you're playing over the summer or whenever else. It was awesome. And obviously now you in the various games since then, you have different types of commentators, and it's kind of taken on a life of its own. But man, some of the OG stuff is just too good.
I love this comment from Bryce. He gave me the best plays in Madden when I asked him. 100%. Love that. I don't know. I didn't play football growing up. I had a heart thing. I still have a heart murmur, so my doctor told me I couldn't ever play football, which was kind of devastating to me at the time. I played baseball and loved it, but I always wanted to play football. So my next best thing was playing Madden and kind of learning the sport through that. And honestly, there was some nickel and dime defense. I didn't know what that was when I was, 7, 8 years old. And He would give you the right place. Bill, I love this comment. You're right. The turduckish, I think, is what he called it. The chicken, turkey, and the duck. And we actually have a video of this I want to show you guys. This was just again, making football fun and giving it a life of its own while also bringing a side of it that everyone can laugh at and enjoy. This was John Madden, the epitome of John Madden, and this comment really summed up Bill. Thank you for bringing this to my attention.
Monday Night Football pre-Thanksgiving brought to you by Budweiser, brewed fresh in America. Touchstone Pictures, The Hot Chick, coming soon to theaters everywhere. Radio Shack. You've got questions, we've got answers. And Chrysler, drive equals love. John, you're going to be home for Thanksgiving. I can't believe it.
I know where I'm going to be on Thanksgiving. I just wonder where those turkeys are going to be for Thanksgiving.
I have a feeling I know. Kevin Barlow. Well, John, for years at CBS and Fox, it became a tradition, the turkey leg and all of that. And you brought to the knowledge of America the turducken. And so our friends at the Four Seasons cooked you a turducken.
Oh,
there it is.
What that is?
I think it's a turducken.
It is a turducken, but I got to show you how to. I can't show you. I need fresh turducken. I'm going to have crazy turducken. But anyway, here's how you slice it. See, a lot of people don't know. You have to slice it down the middle. See, and then you slice it across this way. Because what it is, it's a deboned chicken stuffed in a deboned duck, stuffed in a deboned turkey with dressing between the chicken and the duck and the duck and the turkey. So as you cut down that way, you go turkey, dressing, duck, dressing, chicken.
You know, one of the great things about your coming over here is I'm able to ask you all of these questions, because for a lot of years I thought a turducken was some sort of a foul crossbreed. But it's not.
Well,
it's just three different things.
Yeah. It's really 5 different things. It's a chicken, a duck, a turkey, and 2 kinds of dressing.
And are you going to have one on your Thanksgiving table?
Yeah, I'm going to have one. I have to bring it though, but because here's a picture of one.
Turducken.
Yeah,
picture. That is it.
And you see, you cut it like right down here. See, and then this is what it looks like inside. See, so you got turkey, then duck, and then dressing, and then chicken.
Oh.
And then you just have to do it that way, or if any of that makes sense.
Now, can I get some hoisin sauce with that? That's unbelievable.
The first time I ever had one of these, I ate it with my fingers, and then I had to shake hands, and I didn't know whether...
Stay away from me. 2nd and 7, that pass is incomplete.
That is absolutely awesome.
A turducken. Again, just
awesome.
Who does that? There's nobody with a personality like John Madden.
Do you see how happy John Madden was describing that? He was so happy.
Looked pretty damn good, too. I love all 3 of those things. I love chicken, I love duck, and I love turkey. I've never thought to make one of those. I obviously knew the commercial existed, but I never thought to make one. I think I got to make a turducken pretty soon.
I was going to say, I mean, I've been vegetarian for 2.5 years, and that looked good to me. That brought back my my meat eating days, and that looked good.
I didn't know that about you. Interesting. Okay. I did not know that.
Yeah, everyone's surprised by it. I was carnivore number 1.
Yeah, well, hey, turducken for you, more for me and Eric as soon as he hops in. Guys, I know you should probably notice Eric's not here right now. He had other duties with another podcast. He should be joining us, though, in probably about 4 or 5 minutes, maybe sooner. We'll obviously drop him on about that. We're remembering a pretty sad day here on the Club Dub podcast. This was a day where we were hoping to talk a lot of Bears. We will get to Bears shortly here, but we are remembering Bears reporter Jeff Dickerson, the ESPN Chicago reporter, ESPN 1000, ESPN.com reporter, passing away at the age of 44 years old. If you're just tuning in, he leaves behind an 11-year-old son. There is a GoFundMe set up by an ESPN 1000 fan, by Paul Honeycutt is the name. You can go ahead, and it's to the Jeff Dickerson family. You can donate online. Donations starting to pour in over there. Again, this was somebody who was universally loved in the Chicago sports scene. And I'm new to the Chicago media. I joined in May, and I work at WGN. So I'm pretty new, and I never had the opportunity to meet Jeff. But all of my friends who work in the sports style, like Kevin Powell, Dave Ennett, Mark Carman, all of those guys have told me that he's a great man, and he seems to be remembered fondly by his colleagues. And in a time like this, when you have an 11-year-old son now with no parents, just a truly heartbreaking and tragic situation. We want to do everything we can here with the Club Dub podcast to let you guys know that the donations are out there. Please donate if you can. Send your thoughts and prayers. This is truly just a devastating situation.
100%. And, being in the media, it's not my full-time job. So, this is more, passion project for me. But, reading everybody that gets to work with, or got to work with JD day to day, everyone from ESPN.com colleagues. I've seen Rob Demovsky of the Green Bay Packers, Courtney Cronin, who covers the Vikings for ESPN.com as well. Them sharing some of their stories and love for Dickerson. And then from the Chicago beat, I mean, you had Dan Wieder post something very great, JJ Stankovitz, Chris Emma, just lots and lots of stories. And just, it's just one of those things where it's hard to believe, especially when you look at what's the reality for the son that he leaves behind. Having lost, I think we covered this earlier in the show, having lost his mother to cancer 2 years ago, now having lost his father today to the same disease during the holidays, where family is, above everything, especially celebrated during this time, just devastating. And so thanks for sharing the GoFundMe, Kev. I think that's going to be very important. Listeners, if you guys are
Let me pop it back up so people can see.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think this just got created a few minutes ago. So once we're done here, I'm definitely going to be contributing here, and would encourage our listeners to do so. I mean,
this was created by an ESPN 1000 listener. I would assume that a family member or close relative, maybe ESPN 1000, will create an official one. This is one, obviously all the donations are going to go to the family, but this is an unofficial one that's been created by a fan of ESPN 1000 and a fan of JD. So certainly we are thinking of everyone involved today, the entire Chicago Bears beat. Think about it. You go to work. Those are your friends, and you think about people who have been on the Chicago Bears beat for as long as you guys have been in your careers. They've known each other for as long as you've known your closest coworker. It truly is a really hard situation, and we're certainly here at Sports Mockery thinking about JD and sending our well wishes and thoughts and prayers. We also lost John Madden today as well. Just a really, really tough and difficult day. We've been spending some time reliving our favorite John Madden memories. If you're a fan of the 85 Bears, like we all are on this, even though I wasn't alive to see it, this is a guy who loved Walter Payton, loved Jim McMahon, loved the Bears, loved football. He was a rough and tumble blue collar football coach, and that was exactly what we love here in Chicago. We've had a handful of them. We've had Ditka, we've had Quinville, we've had Joe Madden, all these guys that can be real nice on the media side, but when they're out there, they mean business. And that's why I think a lot of Chicagoans flock to John Madden. We love the blue collar side and how he's able to get tough on his guys.
Absolutely. And, I know we were covering a lot of this earlier in the show. It's just one of those things where everyone has a John Madden story. Anyone that's a football fan, anyone that's, of any team, we all have a favorite John Madden memory. I shared my earliest one earlier in the show that just kind of perfectly encapsulates what he was as an announcer. Obviously, not even covering, what he was as a coach, and what he's meant for the global brand of the NFL through the Madden franchise. But I mean, it's just a sad day in the NFL. Certainly one of the Mount Rushmore figures when you think about NFL history, and the game will never be the same.
Bears fans, you guys are going to love this. Claudius, thanks for tuning in again, man. We love your comments. Always appreciate you tuning in on the show. And I agree. I think that we should, I think that's in play. And he'll definitely get Madden 23, the next video game to come out. Got to change the name. Got to make it, give it officially to him, and maybe kind of retire the Madden name. They'll think of something.
I do want to look this up real quick. Wasn't it John Madden who coined the term Super Bowl?
That's a good question.
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, look it up while I share this. Bears fans, you guys are going to love this. That's our punky QB. That's Jim McMahon posting on Instagram today. John was a legend, one of a kind. I'm grateful for the special memories we shared over the years. Always loved to make him laugh whenever he was in town for a game, or really anytime I got to see him. Rest in peace, my friend. You will be missed, but never forgotten. There's Jim McMahon with a full head of hair. John Madden, post-coaching. This looks like broadcasting years. John Madden with the full cigar, fully lipped right there too. Man, oh man, he looked like he was having the time of his life. This is a coach we're talking about who smoked cigarettes on the sideline. He was just a different guy, man. He was a complete and utter football guy that touched current and past players and fans and inspired generations of broadcasters, including myself. Just a gutting loss for the National Football League and the world, if we're being honest. So rest in peace, John Madden. He will be sincerely missed. So,
for sure.
Any final words before we want to get into some Bears talk?
No, I think you covered it perfectly. I did look it up. It was actually Lamar Hunt who coined the
yes.
Super Bowl.
Okay.
But then, if that's the case, I'm in favor of naming it the Madden Bowl. It'd be pretty cool.
I think it's in play. We could definitely see something happen. We'll play some Madden clips on our way out. But this is a Bears podcast. We know what you guys come here for. We thank you for giving us about a half hour to remember our colleague Jeff Dickerson and obviously the NFL pioneer John Madden, one of the pioneers in this league. But the Bears pulled off an exciting 25-24 victory on Sunday over the Seahawks, which was something that I think a lot of people said that they had a chance. I was one of them. I had the Bears in this game. I picked the Bears to win. I took them on the money line. I got some cash out of it. Nick Foles. The reason I picked the Bears was because of Nick Foles, and I just think that he's not a starting quarterback in this league, but the dude is he's a pro, man. He's won a Super Bowl for a reason. I think people like, oh, it was a fluke Super Bowl. No, it wasn't. This guy is a really good quarterback in this league, and he's smart, and he won this game, drove him down the field a couple minutes, and really nice play. A penalty helped out, and some aggressive coaching from Matt Nagy. All in all, the most exciting win since Tampa of last year, I think.
It was an awesome game. I mean, you expect 5-10, 5-9 at the time, Seattle, 4-10 Bears, and who cares? And even you think about the storyline that would have been right, Russell Wilson was the guy whom the Bears were going to trade for, and then Pete Carroll canceled that trade, and then the Bears got Justin Fields, and now it was going to be Justin Fields versus Russell Wilson. That would have been cool. And then Justin Fields is out, so now it's Nick Foles, and it's just okay, this game, who cares? And especially because the Bears were already eliminated, so at this point it's just playing at the string to an extent. And you take the snow, which I will always love snow games. Just it was a joy to watch.
If you don't love NFL snow games, you're not doing football right.
you don't deserve to watch football. No, but I mean, it was just one of those things where it was an awesome spectacle, especially when it was coming down hard in the first half. That was a lot of fun, and then the game was actually very entertaining. Missed. It wasn't missed tackles. It was broken tackles. It was good yak. It was completed passes that didn't seem like they had any business being completed. They had strong runs. It was a fun game to watch. And, that final drive, Jermaine Ifedi had his revenge moment when he recovered that Nick Foles fumble. I think it was 2 plays before Foles threw the touchdown to Jimmy Graham, who had his own revenge moment. So a lot of cool storylines in this game, a lot of fun, and good for the Bears to pull it out.
And Nick Foles, now I don't want any of you watching the show in my DMs later. I don't want you guys commenting on that stuff later. Nick Foles knows this offense better than any quarterback on that roster, period. And he runs it better than any quarterback on that roster. That's not a knock on Justin Fields. He doesn't know the offense yet. And frankly, he's not going to have to know it. Matt Nagy is as good as gone in 2 weeks. We know that. He did go out with some aggressive coaching, which I like. But Nick Foles, let's be honest, he's run this offense before. It made the most sense. Honestly, as him as a backup is not necessarily a bad thing. I think you have a couple more wins in there if he starts. But this is the debate that I think maybe you guys thought I might get into here. I don't want to hear this Dalton Foles debate anymore. I saw an article on it this week about why did the Bears sign Andy Dalton guys, did you guys watch Nick Foles last year? You couldn't have gone into the season with that as your number one quarterback option. They didn't know they were getting Justin Fields. Guys, that was, I get $10 million. It's an overpay, 100%. It's an overpay for a backup quarterback. Yes, but we didn't know Nick Foles. We didn't know that he was going to rebound. That, frankly, it's been one game. It could have been a fluke. The Seahawks defense is terrible. He still clutched out a win, which is great. But this debate between why did they sign Dalton? It makes no sense. Yes, it does make a lot of sense. You couldn't have gone into the year with just Foles as your QB1.
You could not have justified that, especially after the whole, charade of the Bears, Ryan Pace, Matt Nagy saying we're going to do everything we can to fix the quarterback position, a position that had to be fixed because Foles sucked last year, Trubisky sucked last year. So you had to go in and fix it. They explored Matthew Stafford. They explored Carson Wentz. They explored Russell Wilson. Like I said before, they had a trade agreed upon, which Pete Carroll then told them no. So they had all those options. They're like, we can't go into next season with just Nick Foles because we don't know what's going to happen in the draft. We're the 20th overall pick. So they had to sign Andy Dalton. So Andy Dalton was, a $10 million deal for what you think is going to be a starter to get them 8-9 wins maybe, which, could have been possible had he stayed healthy and played the whole year. The offense was looking promising early in the season. So it made sense at the time. And then they got Justin Fields. And then, I think the whole city's expectations changed. People's, idea of what the depth chart should be changed. Yeah. And we are where we are now, from a direction standpoint, because of a lot of things that have happened since. But at the time, Andy Dalton, it was a necessary signing given everything that happened before it. So, Nick Foles, played well, 25 points, all on offense, no defense aided points against the Seahawks. Tough conditions, tough place to play. Can credit him for coming out and eking out a win.
This was interesting too, because over Christmas holiday, you know how we're going to welcome our colleague Eric Lambert into the show. What's up, my man?
What's up, boys? Sorry I'm late.
You're good, man.
No worries. We're happy to have you here. You're just in time for the most fun part of the show.
Oh, I bet.
Christmas brings together some drinking, and it brings together some family members you haven't seen in a while, and it brings together some stories. And of course, the Bears have been bad this year. It's been one of the worst years to watch Bears football in my lifetime. It's been pretty miserable overall. So my uncle's in there, and he's a couple drinks in. He's angry. He goes, "I can't. This Justin Fields guy's stupid. He stinks. He doesn't make right decisions. I'd rather have Mitch back." And I'm like, "Oh boy, here we go." Oof. And he looks at me, and I'm like, I think we're not watching the same football, man. And I don't know. I think that the people I talk to and the people I know might be a little bit more educated on the topic, to put it in nice terms. And he goes, "Oh yeah, well, you want to put a bet on it?" And like an uncle would. And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it. $100 that Justin Fields will never be a top half of the league quarterback." That's what he bet. A top half of the league quarterback. Now,
based on what? How do you?
See, that's the thing. There was no.
Okay. Just perception. Perception.
Right. It's going to be a pure eye test type of thing, and that's easy money, man. Anytime in his career, he just has to be a top half of the league quarterback. I don't know.
For a season or
just a season? Just has to be a top half of the league quarterback.
Man.
Yeah.
Take that bet every day.
Yeah, I took it.
I'm not a gambler, and I'd take it.
Right. $100 in my pocket. I thought it was funny. You guys have any similar Bears conversations over Christmas? I feel like that's just kind of a topic. Oh, Bears suck again this year at the Christmas table. Anything like that?
I've had to explain to various family members who chide me for covering the team as a passion project. Like, why are you doing that to yourself? I'm like, well, it's kind of makes it fun, because otherwise, why would you watch this misery? So other than that, they just kind of like, oh, what's going to happen with the coach? What's going to happen with the quarterback? Explain those things. And then I get into the whole, like, you know what, just read articles. I don't have to talk about this. But no, nothing major. Tried to avoid the topic.
Fair enough. Yeah, I kind of walked into it. Eric, any for you?
Pretty much the same, actually. A lot of my family are female, so they probably don't follow the game as much as I do. But they still try to engage me around Christmas dinner and whatnot. Just ask questions, because I'm usually just silent at the dinner table because I can't enter these conversations. But they ask some questions, and it's similar questions to what you're receiving, Drew. Are they going to move on from Nagy? What about Pace? Do you think they're going to be better next year? What about Fields? And I answer all those questions as honestly as I can, and they don't really ask questions about the offseason and the draft and whatnot, so I don't go into a lot of details. I just try to give them the bare bones so I don't bore them.
Right. Yeah. Quite frankly, I'm I got a couple of those questions too, and you're right. I just answer them because honestly, I give them a bare answer not to bore them, but I'm also just tired of talking about it. Let's just get it over with. Let's
Get it
fast
over
forward
with.
to the end of the year. Let's get this over with. Come 3:15 on January 9th, when the Bears are walking out of US Bank Stadium and into that locker room, we should know the next day. We should know Monday morning that they have departed with Nagy and Pace. At least, well, we'll see. Things always happen with this team. But Eric, before you popped on, just general takeaways from this game. I thought it was the most exciting win since the Tampa game, which Nick Foles was also the quarterback for. Loved the aggressive coaching style from Nagy towards the end. I thought the first half, again, poor play calling with the run game, but I think they got it together and ended up winning a football game against a team that was pretty beat down and battered. So what's your biggest takeaways from this one?
Where the hell was that Nagy earlier in the season is one of my first takeaways. Where was this aggressiveness when he was calling for a punt on 4th and inches and all that stuff? It just boggles the mind. You wait until the season pretty much over before you say, oh, I'm going to be aggressive now. It's like, sure, because you got nothing left to lose at this point. But, that aside, I thought Foles, handled things very well under difficult circumstances. The offensive line immediately got banged up. The running game kind of wasn't working, but they stuck with it, which I thought was an important thing, especially in those conditions. He handled the tough pass rush that the Seahawks have, and, he made plays when he had to. And, kudos to guys like Kmet and Mooney making some plays after the catch that they really needed to happen. And then,
seriously,
Graham making a great catch for that touchdown and Bird making an even better catch on the 2-point conversion. For the guys to really come through against a team that was a bit healthier than they were and still come away with a win on the road, it speaks to the character of that team. And it's the stuff you really like to see. And I really have to give, praise to Ryan Pace for finding players like that, because a lot of other teams probably wouldn't, have summoned the energy to play in a game that was clearly not important to the end result of their season, but still fought, clawed, got that win, and sort of, built a little momentum for themselves going into the offseason to maybe, see if you can build on something for next year.
I'll tell you this. I mean, Seattle is not an easy place to play.
Sure.
One of the loudest venues in the NFL. That place was 60% empty, still loud as hell. It's just one of those things where it's going into the West Coast, like it's a tough circumstance, and they eked out a win. And I thought it was very interesting how much, Nagy talked about, empty your cup, right? That was kind of his post-game thing. And it was very telling how much of the Bears' young core was doing that. I mean, think about Cole Kmet, some of his yards after the catch on some of those receptions. David Montgomery playing hard as he always does. Darnell Mooney, he gained 15 yards after contact on that final drive on that first throw, which also resulted in the roughing the passer. 15 yards after contact.
Best catch of the season.
It was incredible. And we haven't seen Yak like that. They had 169 yards after catch in that game. That was probably their season total before that. Like it was just, it was honestly, it was fun. And again, this is not any sort of referendum on Matt Nagy. I think it's great that he has his team playing hard, even though the season's over. His tenure is very likely over at this point. And it's just nice to see some fight and some desire. These are all characteristics that you want heading into a new regime, because these players, you're hoping that they're serving as the foundation and building blocks for the next regime. If they're not showing that, you can bet possibly the next regime's coming in and be like, I don't want these quitters on my team. We're getting rid of people that we thought, were going to be the foundation. David Montgomery, Cole Kmet, Darnell Mooney. Then what do you do, right? Then you're really elongating this rebuild. So it was nice to see that. Definitely positive points. Robert Quinn talked about it, like, hey, we need to justify our places on this team next year. I thought that was nice. And, I think it was a well-deserved win.
Yeah, I caught myself a lot just getting into it. I told myself, I wasn't going to really care about the game. And at the end, I mean, I saw the turnover on downs, and I saw the penalty flag, and I stood up and I yelled, "What the fuck?" Yeah. I was like, no way. And I immediately texted the group because I forgot that it wasn't an automatic first, because the ball had the time of the possession arrow had already changed in favor of the Bears, so it wasn't an automatic first down. But I thought it was, and I know I'm not alone in that. I know a lot of people thought that.
I did too. Yeah.
But it was nice to see fight, and it's nice to see plays like this.
Foles, design roll. Foles, back in the end zone, and it's Demir Byrd, and he hits the catch and converts! What a throw and catch! Bears take the lead with 1:01 to play in Seattle.
And sprint out to the right. He had him open for a second. He threw it kind of late. I thought he almost messed it up. Seattle tried to carry him out the back of the end zone. He still was able to get a knee down. One knee.
And look at him.
It was 2 feet.
One hand control on the way down. Incredible play by Demir Byrd.
One of the catches of the season. Easy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And just to hold the ball away from the defender knocking it away or getting any sort of gray area that he might have fumbled it on the way to the ground. Keeping it
at the same time, you worry if his right hand touched too soon before his knee got down. And I was sweating that one out.
It was just awesome, just absolutely awesome. And then I loved his like reaction, like running off out of the end zone, and it was reminding me of that Derrick Rose buzzer beater against the Cavs. That was just was it the Heat or was it against the Heat? I can't remember. It was a LeBron-led team.
It was the Cavs. It was the Cavs.
Okay, yeah, it just reminded me of that. Just same like stoic face. I just did that. That's right. That was great.
Yeah, that was. I mean, moment of the year for the Bears. I don't think anybody's questioning that. But another guy who is just, he's got 2 games left now to break Richard Dent's sack record, season record for the Bears, 17 half. I don't think we're paying enough attention to this guy. Just because the Bears are having a bad season, I think fans are really overlooking the historic season that Robert Quinn is having.
Been quiet outside of the touchdown catch. Wilson was looking his way, and now has to spin. And Wilson is brought down. Robert Quinn, who has just been a sack machine, leads the NFC second in the NFL with 16 sacks entering today, and he's nearing Chicago Bears' single-season record. It's a loss of 13.
Robert Quinn coming off the right side, able to run down Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson looking at that zone coverage. He didn't like anything he had, only 3-man route. Robert Quinn finishing the playoff.
Classic.
It's one of the most difficult dudes to sack in the NFL. Russell Wilson, easily one of the most difficult dudes to bring down. That was an awesome play by Robert Quinn.
And critical because that pushed him, I think, 9 yards back, and the Jason Myers field goal sailed just wide left. They just perfect amount of distance, and it was cool. I mean, honestly, like, I know the season doesn't mean anything, it doesn't really matter from a win-loss perspective, but it's kind of nice to see the Bears actually get a break. They've gotten their hearts ripped out a lot this season. So that was nice to see it kind of fall their way. But honestly, they created a lot of their own breaks. None of this was luck. They deserved what happened, and it was. I said it a few times now. It was nice to see them get that because it looked like they really wanted it.
And the thing about this whole Robert Quinn situation and what makes it all the more impressive, I wrote this in an article recently, is that he's been doing it without a lot of help for long stretches of the season. Khalil Mack went out after 6 games with his foot injury. Akeem Hicks has been missing a ton of time with ankle, groin, and now COVID issues. And the fact he still has 17 sacks after 15 games is absolutely insane. When you think about Richard Dent, when he did it, he had Dan Hampton on that front. He had Steve McMichael on that front, Otis Wilson. I mean, these are all Pro Bowl Hall of Fame / players. So to see Quinn being able to do this despite, not always having a lot of help up front makes it all the more impressive.
Definitely. And part of it might be he's always going against the left tackle, and people expect their left tackle to be able to win. But, Quinn is winning. And, often. It's really often. So it's honestly a remarkable performance. And you actually have to think pretty hard about whether do you want to trade or get rid of Robert Quinn for a draft pick, or do you want to keep him for another season because he's been that good?
it's a tough call. You can see the benefits both ways because he's maxing out his value right now. 17 sacks. A team that feels it might be close to a Super Bowl will say, man, if we can get this guy on top of our pass rush, we might be able to make a run at a ring. So yeah, you have to keep that in mind. It's just a question of what will they offer you. If we're talking, a mid-round pick or something, probably not the best idea to weaken your defense considerably by trading him. But at the same time, if we're talking third, maybe even a second round pick, then you have to consider it, considering where the Bears are at with the second oldest roster. They don't have a lot of draft picks. So it'll always depend on what they get in terms of offers. And if it's not high enough, I'd imagine they keep him because they still have him under contract. And if you can get another good year out of him, great.
Yeah, I think I'm in the boat of trading him just because of his injury concern and his age, and I don't think you're going to see another year like this. His stock's going to be at an all-time high this year.
True.
So I think that in terms of that, I think that that's something I would look into for sure. And Claudius is a great thing here. Everybody thought he was a bust after last year. That's the thing. We say this. If you take nothing away from this podcast, is what we say all the time. The NFL is a year-to-year league. Will the Bears be competing for a Super Bowl next year? No, they won't be. But they're going to be in a spot where they could maybe get into the wild card. Maybe if Rodgers leaves, they might get into the playoffs, win the division. But this is a year-to-year league that we can see. All it takes is a few little tweaks sometimes. Look, for Christ's sake, look at some of the teams that have turned it around, like the Chargers are a great example of this. It's only took them about 2 years, and look, they went from the basement in the NFL to a contending team. I know they struggled last week against Houston, but it's a team that's going to be fighting for a playoff spot, and they might get in. It's a year-to-year NFL. It's a year-to-year league. The Bears are going to be competing really heavily in 2023. I think that you have to be looking towards that. That's why I would look into moving Robert Quinn in the offseason. As good as he's been, this is just it's been a tough year, but that is certainly a storyline that we love to see, and a guy just still going balls to the wall for his team every year. What's up?
Did you guys see the comments that are taking over our chat here?
Oh, no, I'm not. Oh, Jesus.
Jesus.
No, I'm not even going to put that on the screen. I don't even know.
Not at
Wow,
all.
that was pretty brutal.
Oh, God.
Oh, boy. I'm going to put something fun on the screen. If you guys didn't catch this post game, this was kind of what you were alluding to, and Ryan Pace finding some awesome players in the draft. Just guys, we haven't had Club Dub videos this year. There hasn't been a lot of heartfelt videos, but this is a really fun one to end the game.
I'm going to get Tree. Be ready. Watch this.
Man, he hit him pretty hard with that.
Oh man, he nailed him right in the face. Did you see the photo he posted on his Twitter account?
No, I didn't.
Oh man, it was perfect.
The photo of his face?
No, the photo of on Roquan's Twitter page, he posted a photo of him absolutely tattooing Ogletree right in the chin with that snowball. You should check it out. It's a great photo.
Perfect shot.
I'm gonna see if I can find that.
Yeah,
because that looked like a pretty compact snowball and some wet snowfall.
Oh yeah,
that probably hurt a little bit, man. Let me see. How long ago did he tweet this back? Let me see.
Oh, not that long. It was a couple days, but he doesn't tweet often, so you should be able to find it.
Oh, there it is. Oh,
yeah.
I'm gonna share the screen. Oh, hang on one sec. This is hilarious. Let's see. This is it's like when you hit one of your buddies or whitewash them, like what we used to do. Look at this. Check this out. Oh, God.
Can you zoom in? It's a little bit.
Let me see if I can get it to just make it better.
Roquan's caption is yikes.
Oh man.
Woo. Oh, dude, yeah, that
got
looks
him
like right in the face.
But he didn't hold back either. He gave it everything he had too.
He followed through. I mean, that was a Jacob deGrom fastball, man.
Yeah, man. Wonder if he had to pay for that one later. He bought him dinner or something. That would hurt. I think in the moment, and after a win, I think I'd be excited, but I'd be pissed after the fact. Be like, damn, that kind of hurt, man. Relax. Bears going to win 25-24 over Seattle. Fun win. They got potentially the Mike Glennon revenge game coming up. I don't know if he's going to start or not. We'll see.
The way
has
Fromm
New York
played, he
named?
probably will.
Yeah, is it
Did you
Fromm
guys
or
see
Glennon?
Jake
Have we
Fromm's
seen
stat
yet?
line?
It was dog shit, wasn't it?
It was something.
It was okay. I'll bring this up here. I will bring it up here and I will read it out to you guys because this is quite honestly, we have the Jimmy Clausen punt every drive game in Seattle from several years ago in memory, right? Jake Fromm, 6 of 17 for 25 yards and an interception.
Oh man,
Ineptitude at its finest.
Cleveland. That's like Fields Cleveland numbers right there. Oof.
It's worse. It's worse. Almost worse. His completion percentage is slightly better, but his yards per attempt is actually, now that I think about it, it's probably similar. But Mike Glennon was no better.
Team?
What's that?
Wasn't he playing a worse team than Cleveland though?
He was playing Philly. Which
that's a worse team than Cleveland.
The worst team, yeah. And Mike Glennon, no better. 17 of 27, 93 yards.
The fact that Freddie Kitchens was calling plays makes it fitting.
Oh my gosh.
So maybe, just maybe, we'll see Mike Glennon. They're out in New York for this game, correct?
Chicago. This is in Soldier Field.
Really?
Mike Glennon coming back, man.
Didn't they have the Giants at Soldier Field last year?
Yeah, and the year before.
So when are they going to go out to the Meadowlands?
Next year.
If they end up playing each other, do they play the East? I think
they play the East next year, and they're in New York.
I'd be getting tired of making that drive to if I was the Giants and the Soldier Field, man. I'd be kind of worried.
Schedules can be tricky, man.
We'll see. Mike Glennon's return to the Lakefront potentially. I don't think they've named a starter yet, so we'll keep all eyes on that, obviously, and we'll have updates through that.
We'll be on the edge of my seat, guys.
Oh God, yeah. Can you imagine if he comes in and balls out? Oh man, it'd just be the cap on the
Bears.
I struggle to see it.
You know what would be hilarious? This would be the most the funniest thing. Ryan Pace's first move at quarterback, Mike Glennon, his first game at Soldier Field was a loss to the Falcons. Imagine bookending Ryan Pace's career by Mike Glennon coming back to Chicago.
Oh, that would be poetry.
Amazing.
that would be a great storyline. Yeah, Waddle Lawrence, $18 million plus later. Yeah. Master at the Bank, Mike Glennon. They showed that
neck picture. Oh my God,
really doing it dirty.
I love it.
But he made his most money here in Chicago. $18 million guaranteed to start a couple of games and be bad. Yeah, honestly, good for him. Master at the Bank there. Bryce trolling us, Glennon over Fields. I don't think so, buddy, but good try. We got a couple of questions rolling in. We'll do our question segment, and we'll get back to it. We'll double back on what we talked about to begin the show real quick. We do have an official GoFundMe that was sent to me now. Instead of the older one that I showed you guys, but we can contribute to both for Jeff Dickerson. We'll talk about that after our questions here. Let's see.
I did see one here from Bryce.
Yeah, go ahead and throw
it. You guys think the fan base has a reason to be upset? A little vague of a question, but I assume you're talking about the state of the team. Short answer, sure.
Yeah.
They haven't been good enough, and they need to get it fixed.
Yeah, I think there are higher expectations in this city than there are other cities due to the amount of people that are here, the type of media that we have here, the outlets. Just the Chicago's a football town. Everybody knows that. People love the Cubs here. People love the Sox. People love the Bulls. But this is a football town. The standards are higher. This is not Jacksonville, Florida. Both teams are looking for a head coach, but guess what? This is not the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is the Bears. This is a big deal. Fans have every reason to be upset over what we've seen over the last couple of seasons. Yeah, they've made the playoffs here and there, but there's been no playoff wins in the Matt Nagy or Ryan Pace regime, rather, since he got hired. No playoff wins. So I think that's your answer. Yeah, we should be upset.
I think it's most of the questions that we had. We had a lot of comments.
Yeah, a lot of people just tuning in talking about Jeff Dickerson and John Madden today, as well as we kind of really just a difficult day before you got here, Eric. We were talking about Jeff Dickerson. I know you don't know him personally, but obviously his reporting second to none. One of the best reporters that they've had on the beat for a very long time. I'll let you say anything that you want to say. Anything about him that's kind of stuck out in your mind. For me and for us, it was more of a guy that is liked by everybody in the room. I never got to meet him, but I knew a lot of my coworkers that I work with now at WGN all love him and said he was an amazing man, amazing father, and amazing worker.
My first experience of Jeff Dickerson was when I used to listen to the Waddle and Sylvie show on ESPN 1000, and he was a regular guest for them. And I always felt his knowledge was exceptional of the Bears. He was level-headed, fair, all the things you can think of with a professional reporter. And then in 2016, I had a rare opportunity to go to Bears training camp and be on the sideline where the reporters were. And it was a really hot day. I was just sort of, roaming the sideline before practice was set to get going. And I finally, wandered around to where the reporters were, and I introduced myself to Jeff, and he was gracious. He was very nice. And he gave me some pointers and, had a little quick conversation. Just an awesome guy. Really glad I got a chance to meet him because I had been listening to him for years at that point. So, when I heard that he passed, I was absolutely crushed because I knew what he meant to the Bears beat and all that sort of stuff. Absolute upstanding man. And, he's going to be missed a lot.
Wow. That's really cool that you got to meet him. That's really, really cool. And I've heard a similar story from, we saw JJ Stankovitz put out a tweet earlier saying when he was let go from his job on the beat, Jeff Dickerson was one of the first people to reach out and say, hey, here's a list of people that I know that I want you to contact. And it helped him get the job as the Colts writer. I mean, this is a guy that cares about young people's careers and people just starting in this industry. And I think that's really important. So that's really cool. Thanks for sharing that experience. It really is just a sad and awful day for his son, for his family. Obviously he lost his wife, Caitlin, 2 years ago to melanoma and now to colon cancer. Just a tragic day. And I do want to share, this is the official GoFundMe. So the one we showed you early on in the show, if you were still tuned in, that was an unofficial one set up by a fan. This is the official fund set up now by the family. Parker's Fund, as you can see, it's reached $36,000 of the 100,000 goal. Knowing this city and knowing our fans and knowing the Bears just network that we have, it's going to shatter that. So Drew, you said you're going to be on posting a little bit later. I'm also going to be donating to this. Donate as much as you can. It's the holidays, do what you can, but obviously just a horrible situation.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, to everyone that's been listening, please pay attention to this GoFundMe. This is the official one. The best we can do for an 11-year-old who has now lost both parents in the span of 2 years to the same disease, and it's just heartbreaking. You can't make up a script like that. It's that cruel. So, do what you can if you can. And I'm sure he would appreciate it. His family would appreciate it.
Just understand that every little bit helps. If it's $1, if it's $5, whatever you can offer, it will help, towards this goal, because never think that, even a modest little amount won't help, because it will. This young man needs as much help as he can get. He deserves it after what he's been through the past couple of years. So anything you can offer would be most generous in this point in time.
Mm-hmm. No question about it. Well, there you go. Parker's Fund. You can find it on GoFundMe right now. Go ahead and donate as much as you'd like. We're also remembering today John Madden. I see that in your background, Eric. You got a picture there of Madden and
legend.
Who's next to him?
Pat Summerall.
Pat Summerall, man.
Pat Summerall. Okay, I couldn't see who that was. All right, Pat Summerall. So, any quick things on John Madden before we get out of here? Drew and I were kind of talking a little bit about some of our favorite stories and relaying a couple fun little YouTube clips of John Madden. But anything come to your mind as a football fan and somebody getting into the game as a young kid and growing up on John Madden? What kind of sticks out to you?
You see, that's the thing. Most people know John Madden for his video games, but I wasn't really into the Madden video games as much as I was ESPN 2K, the 2K games. I was more into those personally, but I did play Madden. Don't get me wrong. I played the Madden games, but that's not where I really got to know Madden. It was as a broadcaster, of course, but also as I became more interested in the NFL in the 2000s, I started watching those documentaries, America's Game, about all the Super Bowl champions. And I ended up watching the 1976 Raiders team where he was the head coach. And that was my first real introduction to Madden as a person and as a coach, as a broadcaster. And I'm like, man, this guy's awesome. He's so knowledgeable about the game. He's so passionate about the game. That's sort of what helped hook me in even more to the NFL as I became more of a fan. And then, as I watched more and more clips of him, I began to appreciate him more. And then I studied up on his history as a head coach and how he was a consummate winner. .759 winning percentage, one of the winningest in NFL history, and his impact on the game is utterly staggering. I remember his cameo appearance on. Do you remember the movie Little Giants from like the 90s? I remember his cameo appearance from that, and that's sort of how that had an influence on me as well. So he's been part of my life for a long time now, and to hear him say things like, you never cheat the game, always play to win, no matter if you don't really need to win the game. You never tank to try and get an extra draft pick. That sort of passion, it always resonated with me, and how he always felt that 1985 Bears defense is still the best in the NFL. So he's always had a special place in my heart, and to hear him die, at 85 years old, maybe a little wink there on top of it all. So, to see him finally get in the Hall of Fame after probably having to wait longer than he should have, it was nice to have some feel-good moments for him before he ended up passing.
Yeah, that movie in the 90s, was that the movie where he was getting on the bus talking to a bunch of kids and said, okay. I never saw the movie, but I saw a couple of those clips pop
It's a great movie, man. You should watch it. It's a fun movie.
I kind of relate John Madden on, if you're putting him on the national scale.
Claudius knows.
Yeah, is Claudius watching? What has he got? Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I've never seen it. I'm gonna have to put it on my watch. What I kind of like to relate John Madden to, a guy with a personality that's just bigger than the room itself, is on a local level. Even if you're not a football fan, you know who John Madden is. But on a local level, it's like a Ron Santo type of broadcaster, a guy who just all emotion all the time, not gonna hide his true feelings for the game. Just loves everything about the game and everything about the team that he was rooting for, or playing or coaching, whatever. And I think that's so rare in today. I think it's so rare, and it's also incredibly rare to find a human being that can touch all men and women, all aspects of society, and make them laugh, especially with all the differences we have today. A guy like that, it just makes him so special, and he's going to be so missed. Even if he was out of the media circle for a while. Guy worked on 4 major networks, made everyone laugh. Truly an icon. He'll be missed forever. So we wanted to play some of our favorite moments and give you guys a sounding board if you big John Madden fans. We had a couple people commenting earlier today, changed the Super Bowl name, Claudius, to the Madden Bowl. We had our favorite memory. He gave me all the best plays in Madden when I asked him. Yeah, exactly, from Bryce. And Thanksgiving football has never been the same without him. Yeah. So obviously he stretches to our audience. He inspired me as a broadcaster as well. So just a wonderful man. We'll miss him. Absolutely. So that's about 100%. All I got for this show. It was a tough one to get through, but we appreciate everyone kind of hopping on and talking about it. The Bears have the Giants this week. It's a noon game at Soldier Field, I believe, right?
It is.
Noon game. All right.
It is.
We'll see if Mike Glennon starts. No word yet on Justin Fields. We'll get the first injury report tomorrow, and obviously follow us, and we'll have it retweeted. Make sure you follow the Club Dub podcast page as well on Twitter at @ClubDub_podcast. We are, as always, presented by SportsMockery.com and the great Pinwheels and Ivies podcast. They will come at you tomorrow. Have a live show talking all things Cubs and Sox. Father Zoe, Aldo, and Fids. As always, we appreciate everybody tuning in. And go ahead and donate to the JD fundraiser if you can. But guys, any final thoughts before we get on out of here?
Just real quick, I saw a couple guys had some more questions. Bryce, Jason.
Sure, yeah. Let's touch on those.
I was gonna say I'd like to end kind of where we did. Just talking about John and JD. Guys, we're gonna be opening up. I'll be opening up a Bears mailbag tomorrow, so look out for that. Feel free to ask it there, and we can address it separately. But I think it'd be appropriate for us to end where we did.
All right. Well, again, as always, we appreciate everybody tuning in. We've been going pretty strong on this podcast. A lot of views today. Tough one. We promise we'll have a lighter show next week, we hope. And hopefully another Bears win. Who knows? They're out of the playoffs, but as I sat there on Sunday and said I wasn't into this anymore, I'm still just as passionate. I think we'll all be there on Sunday. So
two more games left, and before a long 9 months or whatever without football, hopefully there's another win or two, to end the season, so you can kind of hold on to that for a little while.
Hope you guys had a wonderful Christmas. For Eric, Drew, and Kevin, Happy New Year from us here at the Club Dub Podcast. We will see you all again in the new year. Hope you're going to watch that game on Sunday, and go Bears as always. You guys have a wonderful week. Peace.